That's all they had. Where it started off. And then.
Okay, just letting everyone know that I have unmuted Cayuga, and we are live on YouTube.
Everybody, Amanda just said we're live, guys. Please take your seats.
Alert of.
Thanks, Amanda.
We're live, Hans.
It's good to see you. We're live, Hans, anytime you want.
Give us something, yeah. Thank you.
Get here too early.
I had to stay late for a hearing, and all of a sudden I feel like I rode hard and put up what? In reverse, man.
Okay, meeting please come to order. We have minutes to approve from last time.
Move it, Mark.
Second, Petrus.
Any questions on the minutes? All those in favor of approving, aye.
Aye.
Carried. No appointments, department updates, Jennifer.
You should have my report in front of you. I do have a couple of items to add. The first is that the town of Genoa assessor has resigned. So the town is currently in the process of looking for a new assessor. But just know that, for people of that town right now, they're a little short staffed there. And also we received notification from the state that Cayuga County is on their list of counties that will get new imagery in 2023. So on our tax map online, you can pull down imagery of the county for parcels to kind of see what they look like. The imagery that's up there right now is from 2018. So we are well overdue for some new imagery. And at a 12-inch resolution that is free to the county. So the state provides that. There is an option to upgrade to a 12-inch resolution, which basically just provides clearer images. However, the cost is about $73,000 to do that. So given that we get the other option for free, I don't know that the legislature would want to entertain the higher resolution. But I figured I'd throw it out there. So any questions for me?
Any questions, anybody? If not, thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you.
Mr. Dempsey?
I have my report there. Does anybody have any questions? If not, I'd like to offer up Hans as the new assessor for the town of Genoa.
He's laughing hysterically.
I think to read his mind right now.
Thank you. If anybody has anything, let me know.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. No finance committee. Diane, your Summers probably. No,
You have
There's
your
you.
report. I'll just ask if anybody has any questions.
got none.
Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Okay, guess we're down to our resolutions, so I'd like to do WM 1 through 5 as a bundle.
I'll move it.
Second,
Okay, discussion, anybody questions or comments? If not, all those in favor 1 through 5?
I,
Anyone opposed? Carried. Number 6 and 7, we do afterwards. Number 8 through 10 or 11 as a bundle again. That basically what needs to be done.
I'd like to separate 9 and 11.
9 and 11. Okay. 7, 8, and 10 as a bundle.
so moved.
No, we're not doing 7.
8 and 10.
8 and 10,
Yeah.
8 and 10.
I can't read that. Lost my glasses, so.
8, and 10.
8 and 10 we're doing, okay. Yeah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Nobody opposed? Carried, thank you. Number 9,
Move it, Peaches.
Second for discussion.
okay, open for discussion. Anybody? Eileen?
I just wanted to. I want to ask Lynn specifically, how did we arrive at the 3%? That's first, and then should we have the list of people impacted by this?
Ben? Thank you.
Readers, nice.
Hey, that helps.
Oh, right.
No comment, please.
I think it's lovely.
I love it.
Ben, would you care to answer the question?
Go with your eyes.
Yes, all right. You know, the 3% is something that had been kind of talked about with a few people in administration. It's obviously up to the legislature what to include as a percentage. You know, the list is quite extensive of all the non-bargaining employees. It's, you know, I don't know, 100 and something people long, so we don't normally catch the list of them. It's everyone who is not in the union and who is not appointed for fixed term or elected. So it's majority of your other department heads, their deputies, maybe some, you know, fiscal or confidential secretaries, you know, the attorneys, the district attorney assistants. You know, that was probably the bulk of the staff that it would be. And then your part-timers could be, you know, any position, but they would be hourly people. And this is how we would, that's referred to the part 2 people. Those are your part-time people who are hourly. And that's how we normally give them their adjustment also in this resolution.
So I know in the past, we've kind of done it all different. We've done this many ways. Almost every year I've been on the ledge in terms of the percentage or whether or not we didn't do anything. That's happened as well. So I guess I'm wondering in lieu of, you know, not that they're bargaining unit, but to the work we're doing with the bargaining units, you know, is this a fair number? So I just wasn't clear that, you know, I think the idea was you wanted to get it in before the end of the year so that people can start out with something. But I guess I'm just not sure about the 3%. That's just my reservation on it.
Jim?
So just to clarify, and we've had some conversation on this. If we don't do anything and we wait till the bargaining agreements are done, and that's done in June, these folks will lose 6 months of any kind of raise because theirs generally is not retroactive. Was that the understanding I had on that? And that's why we were looking at this possibly now versus waiting until, because the collective bargaining agreements could take, they might happen right away. They could take 6 months. They could take all the next year. Go ahead. I'm asking the question. I thought that's how I understood it.
I think the non-bargaining could be retroactive. It's not an appointed or position, but
Right.
we have done retro.
So there's no term?
Not-
Yeah, I mean, you can do retroactives. I mean, obviously, you know, it's, you could also, you could do it. I mean, they're not part of the bargaining unit, so you can look at it different ways. So you can wait and say, well, we'll give them the raise that the bargaining unit gets because that's what we think we should do. Make it retroactive. You can do that. Or you can say, well, they don't need to wait to get a raise. They can start making more money on January 1. You know, I mean, it's whatever you want to do. If you think if the 3% ends up being significantly lower and the union gets 5, you could try and pass a resolution to make up the difference, or you could make up the difference going forward. You could give a different raise going forward. I mean, really, they are not part of the union. It's up to you if you want to treat them the same and wait. That's your prerogative of how you want to handle it.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, may I ask, Aileen, do you think that's too low or too high?
I'm not in your negotiations. I don't know what's being.
No, I mean,
around.
for the non-bargaining, do you
That's
think?
what I mean. I don't know, comparatively speaking, where you're at in your negotiations.
Well, we've got 4 contracts that are due at the end of this year and none of them have been settled yet.
Right.
So we don't know what's going to happen. I can't say it certainly in the public because we don't know.
Exactly.
Each side has to ratify, as you know. So
Right.
I think this is fair and I think we should not wait. These people work so hard. I don't think they should wait till after January 1st. I think they should start getting paid on January 1st. That's just my opinion. That's,
I think it makes absolutely no sense that if we pass this 3%, which is a reasonable increase that starts in January, that if somehow the union gets something different, then we go ahead and set them at the same because they're not in a collective bargaining agreement. I think that makes even crazier sense that if something happened and a union got 3.5 or 4, that we better make them all the same. They aren't all the same. So if we're going to pass this and support a 3%, that's what it should be. We should not be looking to readjust it once we know a little bit more.
That's,
Can I?
so that's where my thinking.
Hans's meeting.
Sorry, can I ask a question? So we could readdress it in, so if we did 3, this is not for a term, right? None of these positions are for a term. So we could say in retrospect, next year, we could say for 2024,
You could,
Right.
yep.
and address it at that point.
Last year we did 4 because we could. This year it's 3. Next year it could be whatever
Yeah,
seems appropriate based on the fiscal condition of the county. But my point is, I don't think we should wait and make an adjustment to make them whole. I just
I
think
think that-
pass it or we
I
don't.
think that was a suggestion.
Right.
Of different ways to handle it.
Yeah.
I'm in agreement with the 3 and that's it. And we move on.
Any further discussion? Anybody? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
One opposed.
One opposed. Carried, thank you. Okay, where are we?
11.
7, huh? No,
11.
11. Okay, W11, motion.
I'll move this.
Second for discussion.
Okay, open for discussion, let's go. Anybody? Eileen?
Thank you. So I have a question on this. Again, so this is a union role. This is going to go back to Lynn. So it's a union position. Can we talk about how we've arrived at this or where it comes from?
Yeah, I mean, when we're looking at the position and it had been created probably at least, I'm gonna have to say 15 years ago. And the functions that the employee is doing, they're much more in charge of certain activities, not just an assistant. And the responsibilities that person has, the grade was really significantly too low. And there was definitely issues with hiring accounting people. We're having trouble getting anybody to take jobs here and there's no list for them. So this is going to be much more in line, the salary increase, changing the grade up to grade 20. We compared that to accountant is, it's below the accountant, but it's slightly above a junior accountant. And that just seemed to be much more appropriate for the responsibility level and the independence in that position as it has changed over those 15 years and never was changed to kind of go along with the responsibility levels of the individual.
Hans, is there a minimum requirement for this job? But I mean, an accounting requirement, I mean, what is the?
I don't think so. Honestly, I don't know. I don't have the.
can I ask? Is this maybe a simple question? So is this just a standard civil service?
No,
We've
this
done
has
this.
nothing to do with civil service.
No, but isn't it, when we reclassify a position, isn't there, the civil service does, like, we've done this in other departments? Or is this not happening? This didn't originate from?
No.
So because the job duties have not been changed, it did not go through civil service, it's just the grade as far as where it's placed in the contract. So we're changing that. The job duties are staying the same. It's just recognizing the additional responsibility that she's taken on over the years and looking at that this is the only person that we have in the finance department that supports the payroll specialist position. And then we have to kind of look at career opportunities and the succession planning, that if the payroll specialist ever left, this would be the person that we would look at to step into that role.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
There's only two positions in the county with this
Yes.
title.
One's on Phil.
One we just created in DSS.
Right.
Yeah, it's not Phil.
and it's not billed yet.
And is there a concern? Is the union going to advise? Do you have to advise the union when you take a collective bargaining
They're
position?
aware of it. Absolutely. They've told us they're aware of it, but they're not.
And nothing could stop them from wanting to raise the grade of other county positions?
They could ask, but they can't change them.
Right, but that's probably why there's interest in what's happening here tonight.
So that was that's the impetus of the whole thing. If we haven't changed those duties, kept the same title and just increase the salary, is there appetite to go back and reclassify this position to make it something more than, so it really better reflects what we need in that department going forward? Like that's
To justify the
right,
increase in
to just, so we know. I mean, or is it just for this one person, and if the one person leaves, we're just gonna fill it with what's there now? You know what I mean, in terms of the duties? Sorry, I'm jockeying between both of you, HR and budget. I don't know if you have any answers for me, but that's my concern.
Anybody?
Yeah, just to clarify what Diane just said, because I guess I'm confused. We're changing a grade, but job's the same. I mean, nothing has
There's
changed.
more duties and the job hasn't changed.
She's taken a larger role in the duties that she was doing. So instead of assisting the payroll system specialist, she's actually managing a lot of these duties, and they revolve primarily around benefits. So she's the primary contact with all the vendors. She answers all questions for employees. She works directly with the retirees.
less criticized or have a more ground to stand on if there was some adjustments to the job description that actually reflects what you're just saying?
Certainly.
I think that would make a lot more sense, because that would address exactly what's happening and justify maybe the change in grade.
I think we're going to do that, and we're looking for you to approve this now.
Okay. It does only make sense if you do that.
And it will be done.
So I also wanted to add, if we think that this is a temporary, since that office is going through a lot of change and has been in flux for some time, if this duties are maybe seen as a temporary additional, weight on this person, would we think about some other way to compensate them? I guess
It's not temporary. She's been doing it for several years, and this really should have been done a long time ago. Because she is, like she said, the lead person on the benefits, and the other employee who's more senior is lead person on the payroll. They back each other up, but you get what I'm saying? They've kind of split it and it's been like that for a long time.
So if this person left, or the person that is doing payroll left, we would end up filling that position. It's not like we're doing this just.
Oh, definitely.
So the two positions are going to remain for in perpetuity.
Yeah, this has nothing to do with other vacancies in the department. This has nothing to do with that.
Right.
Yeah, this is not a temporary thing.
And to Elaine's point,
Elaine, whatever, which one?
in the description thing, I think that would be kind of important to gear up. Is this title the same title that she already has? And would that make any sense to modify the title? Seems like we like to change language all the time to make people feel good.
It's more complicated for us to do it. So this is why we're just changing the grade.
Okay. More complicated to change the title
Yes.
along with that.
Yes.
Okay.
But you could change the duties in the typical work activities, which probably makes sense to be done.
Can we table this till that work is done? Is that going to take a long time to just change those duties? Like, can
Kind
you
of some
do it before
immediacy to
Tuesday?
this. There's a reason that we're bringing this now.
No.
So we don't want to.
Really serious.
I'm serious.
I know, you are.
This is because we decided to have this wonderful finance department, which isn't working out, okay? And now we're paying some of the consequences. We're having people quit, you know, it's time to stop the nonsense and get on with it.
Are you talking to me or the?
That's on to everybody.
You just haven't done your votes anyway. You can't hear on that one
Oh,
side.
you
So
got those big eyes.
so you're on the,
My question is simply this, if we table this, will this affect passing the budget?
No,
Okay, simple question.
I didn't put it on. We can just take a vote if you, I mean, I don't need to. I do think that this is not a normal process that I've been a part of to say, you know, we haven't changed the duties. We're saying they're doing a lot more, but it doesn't say that on paper. And if we have to replace this sooner than later, we're going to be up against a situation where they're doing, I don't know, either they're doing the duties on paper or they're doing what's expected.
well, I think,
And let's be consistent.
I don't disagree with you, Aileen. I'm practicing for next year. But they do list some of it in the resolution that she talked about benefits with current employees, retirees, which they weren't
That's
doing
right.
before.
Right.
You know, so some of the things are in here. It's just a matter of getting the language updated.
In the jobs.
And really that's kind of an administrative thing on their part. We could ask them to bring that back to us so we could read it. If we didn't like the language, we could change it. But I'm with Hans. I think some of these things we got to move on with a little bit.
To me,
Yeah, we can't always get it, you know, the way it was and the way it is.
to me, it's a question of keeping what is left of the finance department going. That we can do better. So it's a matter of necessity, so. Any further questions?
To me, it's most people in the public tell me, you guys just switch things around on paper and then change people's names and pay them more. I'm just telling you what I get lambasted with all the time.
Yeah, we heard about the savings, but they've been rather short in coming in. So, any further comments, questions? Otherwise, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed?
Opposed.
Imagine that, her and I.
Okay, pass.
Probably be the only time tonight.
Okay, let's enjoy it while this year.
It's early.
It's true. If it was a 2/3 vote, that'd be scary. You and I on the same side.
No, we can't do it.
Elaine,
Yeah, we would have won.
Yes.
I think we're ready.
Yeah,
Yes.
wait, not in committee though. Jesus, Sandy.
Health and Human Services had 6 resolutions this month. They've been through they've been through a Health and Human Services Committee and were moved forward. I offer them up as a bundle unless someone wants to discuss one individually, HH1 through HH6.
Move it, Basile.
Second?
Wait, okay.
Okay, any
Oh, you
discussion?
wanna,
I got a question. I think
Okay.
this is vexing a little bit.
Okay.
Not that big, but I think I'm going to Mr. Chair, I'd like the record to reflect that I am abstaining from HH3 and 4. I'm thinking I should. Thanks for the validation. Thank you.
George noted.
Well, HH5 has the mental health contract to Cayuga Counseling. Is that what you're referring to?
And there's one, I know there's one in, yeah, okay,
Okay,
3, 4, and 5.
okay. And
I'll just set this one out.
Yeah, I'm benched.
I'm not sure about why you want to do 3, but
Because
I don't.
I was guessing.
Yeah, okay, so 3 doesn't have Cayuga Counseling in it.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
so
Yes,
4
all
and
right.
5?
Yes.
You're awesome.
You know, I feel love tonight.
One through 5. Any further questions? If not, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Government operations, thank you, Dan.
So I'm just, well, why not? I'll try. Mr. Chairman, Government Operations Head.
Chris, wait,
Hans, what I heard you say is 1 through 5. I think you meant 1 through 6.
Just want to make sure the record.
Number six.
reflects it's 1 through 6, not 1 through 5. That's okay.
The record does reflect 1 through 6.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Go ahead.
Ready? Thank you, sir. Government Operations Head, 10 resolutions. I'd offer them as a bundle unless anyone wants to list the ones that they want.
Anybody, any separations? Not a motion for the bundle?
I second it.
I'll move it as a bundle.
Second.
Further discussion, comments? If not, all those in favor, 1 through 10?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried. Planning? Dan?
Planning,
Eileen?
it's okay. Planning is 3 resolutions that have been through committee and I offer them as a bundle.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Any questions? If not, all those in favor of 1 through 3, planning? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously, thank you. Eileen, get it right, yeah. Public Works,
Public Works has one resolution to sign a 1-year agreement with Morgan Rubbish.
Move it, Basile. Second it, Mark.
any questions? If not, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried, thank you. Judicial and Public Safety, Mark,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Judicial and Public Safety has one resolution tonight. It was passed in at committee. I move.
I'll second or whatever it takes, JP 1.
Or moved it, so
okay, any discussion, any questions? Not, all those in favor of JP 1, aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried, thank you. Legislature. Mr. Chairman, I believe this is yours.
Yeah, okay, fixing the day of notice of public hearing on a local law creating the Cayuga County Purchasing Department.
Move it.
Second.
Discussion, Eileen?
I just would like to point out, this is just fixing day notice of the public hearing and not a discussion about whether or not to create the department at this time. So I just wanted to highlight
He's in
that.
charge now.
Okay, I don't know.
Oh, that's fine, that's fine. Okay, and any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed, thanks. Ledge 2, fixing the day and notice of public hearing on a local law, providing for salary increases for certain elected county officials and official appointed for a fixed term during their term. Motion,
Move it, Mark.
second,
Second, Amy.
discussion. If nothing, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Chairman, it's all yours.
Okay, I guess we're done with means for this year, hopefully. So, adjournment, I guess would be in order.
Yeah, just
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
everybody, we've got the public hearing set for 6:15, which we have to do for the public. So we'll take a 15-minute break and come back at 6:15, so we can do that. Thank you.
Sure. Maybe I could get some good tickets.
Okay, just so everyone knows, Chambers is unmuted.
All right, everyone, please take your seats.
Thank you. Please allow me to take my sedative.
better go get those, yeah.
Yeah, somebody's out, a bunch of them are outside.
We have a quorum?
Well, I think a lot of them are outside still.
Better than the alternative.
That's what I keep telling myself. This is true.
If I see him, I'll send
Yeah, get them in here, man. All right, everyone, we're missing some people, so we'll give it a couple seconds, but I'm going to open the public hearing right now. Public hearing is on the tentative budget as amended. And we'll wait for the public to call in. The number to call in is 315-294-8051. Again, I'll repeat that number, 294-8051, if the public would like to call in on the tentative budget. Everyone, just to, when we do our amendments and stuff to the budget, if somebody calls in, I'll have to interrupt you and we'll take that. I'll just so you know. Okay. Okay, let's discuss any amendments to the tentative budget. Oh, yeah, I apologize. Yeah.
It's okay.
Shula's got to do roll call first, then we'll do that.
Jim Basile,
Present.
Andy Sedgwick,
Present.
Lydia Patty Rafidi,
Here. Here,
Lydia.
here, can you hear me?
Yes. Okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. McNabb Coleman,
Present.
Bob Shay.
Here.
Hans Patcher,
Here.
Mark Strong,
Here.
Heidi Nightingale,
Present.
Elaine Daly,
Here.
Tricia Kerr,
Here.
Christine Calarco.
Here.
Michael Didio is excused. Brian Muldrow.
Here.
David.
Here. Okay, can we stand, please? Pledge allegiance. A moment of silence, please. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Be seated. Okay, I will repeat that number one more time for the public hearing. It's 315-294-8051. Okay, that is open. I'll once in a while, I'll remind people and then we'll close it in a period of time here. Okay, it's open for the tentative budget. Aileen.
Hi.
Hi.
I told you we had to start. It's already asked if someone was here to speak.
I'm sorry,
Do
what?
we have anybody to speak?
Yeah, I mean, the public is, it can be here too, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, no one's asked. I'm not.
No, not that I know of.
Nope.
So I had put an amendment out on the floor at one of the initial budget meetings concerning CEDA's budget. And the amendment was to move the allocation from 375 to 410. And I would like to put that on the floor for consideration this evening.
So you're making that motion? Is there-
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and second discussion. Jim.
So I received today the budget from CEDA, right? Going over and again, I just received this today, so that's right. And I just want to talk about it real quick. And
Just so we're straight, Aileen, that was from 375
Mike here.
to 10?
Give him a copy too. Just so you can see what we're looking at, Mike. So I appreciate getting this. Of course, there's nobody in this room that's not for economic development for Cayuga County, myself. So getting this budget, Mike had provided us some information in one of his presentations, and he also sent us some 990 forms. And looking at this is the 2023 budget. I didn't make any adjustments to salaries which were requested, administrative and operations, because you have to do that. And with Micron coming, the marketing and promotions, I left that the way it was. That's important. Everybody was looking forward to something happening. So then I looked at the 990 forms, and the operation expense line on those forms over the past few years has only been about $4,000. So I looked at that and I said, if I take that line item and I adjust it to 22,000, that's 5 times what they've used in the past. Now, in the last 5 years, we spent $1.5 million plus with CETA. And I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm not saying it's right. That's data from what's reported. So then I jumped down and looked at bookkeeping and accounting, and from the 990 forms, we spent about $8,000 on it. So I cut that one down to 28,000. That's 3 times what we've spent in the past. So summing those up, the 584 goes down to 534 and some change. So I started a little tabulation down below the 534, and I looked at, Mike had shared with us that he's anticipating carryover of 122,000. So I subtracted that, gives you 412. In this spreadsheet here, this budget sheet, there's 139 of other funding revenue sources. Excuse me. I subtracted that out at 273,068. So rounding up, 275 was the number I came up with. And like we do with other departments and stuff, I would be in favor of amending that to 275. And if something comes up short, or maybe the operation expenses or one of these lines, it could even be something that they had budgeted in marketing and they needed. They could come back to us just like the department heads do. This is it's a service organization. It's kind of like a grant that we're giving them with the county tax money. It's important to have it. We all know that. And then let's see how next year goes and see where we want to go with it. So I'm looking to make an amendment to the budget line of 375 down to 275.
We've already got amendment on the floor, Jim. You can do that.
Well, then here's my sheet. We'll see how that goes. And
Okay,
I just want to-
discussion on Aileen's amendment to 410. And anybody else at all?
and the amendment again is to add the 35.
Right,
Right.
right,
Don't ask this 410 of this organization.
right. Which is the 35, yes. Jim.
So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Heidi, go ahead.
One of the things I understand about the last 2 years, and Michael is here, so he could probably clarify for this. It looks like there's carryover and this very flush budget. But what I've understood is that they have been operating at deficit for at least 2 years with deficit funding. So there's a difference in terms of what you looked at. And
So, Chair.
Yes, go ahead, Jim.
So if that is in fact true, and I'm not a tax guy, our tax filings they're not showing a deficit in the tax filings. And I'm not a tax guy. Mike gave us some information to look at. I tried to use that information and then this budget showed up in my email. I was excited to see it because we need to fund CETA, but like any of the other things, we're responsible as legislators, we all are, to ask questions. We should be held accountable and there should be transparency. And so I think this does it. And I'm not objective. If we have people come to us every legislative meeting, needing an adjustment on this, needing an adjustment on that, needing something here or there. And from what I'm understanding from our budget officers, that's what the general fund does sometimes. We go into the general fund to make adjustments, whether it's an emergency or an unforeseen condition that comes up throughout the year. And this is just my suggestion. I use this sheet that we've been talking about and made some adjustments based on, there's a 5-year history of those reports. He gave us 2019, 2020, 2021. We don't know what 2022 is going to bring, but we know that Mike shared with us, and I appreciated that he's going to have some carryover dollars. And so I just did it's a math equation, and we should be doing this with every budget. I'm hoping that people are doing it. And again, I want to support CETA, but I want to do it fiscally responsibly and with accountability and with transparency.
I just want to point out that although we received this today, this was furnished to our budget director months ago. So I didn't want to paint the picture as if this just arrived last minute. So.
I said I received it today.
No, I know. I just want to make sure.
I didn't know where it came from, how it came out, but it was shared with all of us. And we've been asking, to your point, for months to get this, and you're the chair of Planning and Economic Development. I don't understand why this wasn't given to us right away.
This was given to the budget director at budget time months ago.
I understand that. but
I knew that. So
then when we were asking for this information, why didn't you speak up as chair?
budget director and the chair knew, but they've had these meetings.
But you knew too. So let,
I assumed he gave what they asked.
Well, Mike
for.
stood up.
I
there.
didn't, I
Mike
would
stood
never
up
not
there.
assume that.
Mike stood up here and we asked questions and I said, do we have a budget? Nobody in this room. And if I'm wrong, I'll apologize, but nobody in this room said, oh yeah, we have a budget. It was, you know what the last email was, because we all got that, was an advisement of our attorney. We're not going to share that information. And this is just what I was looking for.
Again, we've had this here. and
Again.
Just shared with you specifically that, I mean, whenever you have budget meetings, people come with their budgets. That's how they create the budget. So I assumed that they had a meeting.
Well, there you go. But when we were here in chamber
Sure.
and asking the question, you never said, oh, well, Jim, we can just pull that out of the
Well,
budget.
I didn't think they.
So we shouldn't get to see it?
That he did what all of the departments and partner agencies do. They come with a budget. And then you have discussion.
I think that's a little bit of backpedaling, but that's me.
I have no idea why you would even assume that that's a backpedaling.
No, to point out at the budget officer and Dave, you have more knowledge than us.
No, I wasn't in that meeting. I wasn't in a budget meeting.
You were in the meetings in here.
County. No, this is a budget, yeah, but this is a budget for the county. The, Cornell Cooperative, the sheriff, when they have their meetings, and you'll get to know this as we go on and have more experience being legislators. And I got to know this from being the chair. Those budget meetings, people come in, they say, here's our budget. Here's kind of our wish list. This is kind of what we see, what we're going to be doing for the year. And, you go from there. And then the chair would usually say, well, we're looking at a cut, or we're looking, tell me about what you're thinking, and let's see if we can get that supported, all with the help of the budget director. So I assumed Michael obviously came in with this information, and it was with the budget director. We don't have, unless you're in those meetings, I don't have the initial budgets from any departments in my coffers here. I assume they're with the budget director. So I'm not trying to hide anything or try to, it's not backpedaling in any way. I think that's a silly argument. I have a motion on the floor for the 410. I actually would prefer to call the question unless you have a.
Yeah, there's 3 hands up.
Oh, sorry. I didn't see it.
I think you were first, Trish, and then Andy, and then somebody over here had one.
Yeah. I appreciate your look at this, Jim. I really do. I'm looking at the most recent funding scenarios that the accountant from CETA actually provided within the last month. So that's what I'm basing it on. It's the most recent numbers. I'm looking at how I want to vote on this. The other funding amount for revenue is a lot different than what's on here. And the actual budget is different. I appreciate that you looked at a 5-year history and are trending of, the trend of why now are we having such higher expenses in operations or bookkeeping? I think that's a question if Mike wants to answer, we should ask that question, but without having clear response on that, I'm gonna be supporting the budget that CETA submitted to us. So that's.
Andy? Thanks, Trish.
Yeah, I'd like to know, Mike's here, maybe he can answer this. What the 122,000 carryover or whatever it is, the number is, how much of that is county money that we give you?
I can't speak to that offhand. I would have to do a forensic accounting of.
Well, you should be able to speak to it pretty clearly, I would think, because we have a contract with CETA and payment shall be made upon the county's written receipt of an invoice for services. CETA will maintain and track said county funds in a separate bank account. The county funds provided under this contract shall not be commingled with any other funds. CETA shall pursuant to county law section 224 and 225 render an annual verified account of disbursements from the account to the clerk of the Cayuga County Legislature within 120 days after the end of each of CETA's fiscal year. And CETA shall deliver with the report a refund check payable to the county treasurer any funds unexpended as of December 31 of the previous year. Why do we bother to have contracts if we don't abide by them, if we don't have a clue what they said? I mean, your statement right there that you don't know, you should have a separate bank account for county money.
We do have a separate bank account and that is tracked. I'm saying I'm not sitting in front of, my books at the moment to tell you exactly what is going into that.
So with all of this questioning that's been going on in the last 2 or 3 weeks, you never came across that figure to happen to have it in your head. But you came up with all these other figures pretty easily, but you can't remember what's in the county's bank account.
I don't think it's that easy to answer at the moment. The 122 was the projected year-end figure. The majority of that is more than likely funds received from the county. That being said, I cannot definitively tell you at the moment because I'm not sitting in front of that information at this second.
So that money will be coming back in the next 3 weeks then, if it's sitting there from the county. Because that's what the contract says.
That's what the contract says.
Has that been happening?
I have no idea of it. Lynn, do you know anything about that? I don't want to put you on the spot, but I don't know who else would know.
Yeah, no, I mean, they've never been returning funds to the county.
Again, why have a contract?
Elaine?
And just, I guess, without, again, putting Lynn on the spot, the original request for CETA was 410 at the time of the tentative budget. They must have come with some kind of justification for the ask, and yet the determination for the tentative budget was 375. Was that based on information you looked at, information that was provided? How did the money, how did the figure in the tentative budget arrive?
We had a meeting with them and they presented their budget and we just felt that the current allocation was sufficient. And I will mention that that document does say confidential on the top of it. So I did not feel it was my place to share the document with anybody. We're kind of honoring that when people come to meetings and do that with us. So that's why it wasn't just forthcoming. So.
But I guess there was a basis for the 375. It was.
I can't say there was a big analysis. We don't always do that. And that's kind of up to the chair to just decide. We just want to budget steady level budgeting. It seemed reasonable. They don't have a huge excessive, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 rollover. I mean, that would be a different scenario, I think, if it was significant dollars. We did know the investments in the future and the chair supported that. And so that was his, his choice to budget what he wanted to. He doesn't have to have a huge analysis or not. It's what he felt comfortable with budgeting. That's what we included.
And Mike, there has been a lot of discussion about, you've had vacant positions and gee, shouldn't you have additional funds that are available to grow into this budget? I did get the impression that there was some deficit funding that has happened over the last few years. And if you had actually had those positions filled, you would be in worse shape. Is that the case?
That is part of the information that was shared with this body a couple of weeks back as legislature Kern mentioned. That's part of the analysis that was done. So 120 true that we're projecting going into 2023 would be significantly less. Every position was filled throughout the duration of this year.
And your goal is to fill those positions next year and then some, or to keep the positions filled, and that's the request for the 410?
We're looking to fill our current vacancies as soon as possible. And we also have rising costs, just a natural course of business, especially in the inflationary environment we're in right now.
The 410 would give you the ability to cover those rising costs and to be fund fully all the positions that you need.
That is our request here, is that, again, going back to the scenario analysis I provided, is a more comfortable position for us is to have at least 25% in reserve funds on a month-to-month basis, so we can better plan and prepare for any emergency scenarios that arise. But again, that 410 is really requesting that we're able to keep off the ground throughout 2023.
What would the impact to the agency be if it was 375?
We touched on the ground several times throughout the year, and part of that is the construct of our contract with county. It's paid quarterly, so we get by quarterly.
Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Forgive me, I'm a little vexed right now. I had initially planned to second Aileen's motion to call the question, but some revelations have come forward. So I guess I would ask and I think maybe this is a Lynn question, maybe a Chris question, but is the contract with CETA commensurate with that of other agencies that we contract with? Meaning, would other agencies get away with not returning the funds? They not be scrutinized that way? So I guess I just asked that.
Okay, we have a minute. Trish?
I just wanted to point out,
So no answer is the answer
Is
is
there any other agency that has that language?
that, I mean, because it seems to me that we have quantifiable data outcomes in most contracts. So, and then again, with the not fulfilling the very letter of the law of the contract, again, I find vexing at this point. So if we're gonna move on, I'll second her. If nobody's gonna answer, I'll second the calling of the question.
Okay, question's been called. All right, we're voting on the amendment made by Aileen to go to 410 from 375 for CETA.
Don't we have to vote on the call to question?
Yeah, we're gonna have roll call. Is that what you said?
Vote on call
Vote on
the
call to
question.
question?
Yeah, okay, yeah, vote on the call to question. All in favor of calling the question?
No.
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 Okay,
I
failed. Trish, go ahead.
Wait,
good, better take.
yeah, all right, fine, I'll let it go.
We need everybody, this has been something going on for months. We need everyone that needs to talk about this, so we all have the information and we can make an intelligent vote. So I'm gonna let it go on as long as people want to talk. Go ahead, Trish.
Thanks, Steve. Again, looking at the documentation that was handed out from CETA's account, and it was within the last month, they're using $122,000 of their unexpended funds from this year to support their 2023 budget. The balance after that is it's relatively insufficient to support the month-to-month operations of CETA. If you look at their cash flow statements that they handed out, there's several times throughout the year at the 375 where they go into the red and they have to go tap into the reserves. So the budget they presented to us using 122 of their unexpended funds only gives them a 3-month operating reserve on the books, which is the minimum amount recommended for a not-for-profit organization. If we want to completely zero out those reserves, they're not going to be able to pay their bills. And so with the 410, if you look at the scenario, they'll go into they'll go $80,000 under available funds, and the amount of reserves to operate for three months is 95,000. It's almost an exact wash. And I just think that even at the 375, they're barely going to make it. They're barely going to make ends meet. So and the only other way to change that picture is to reduce the budget itself and what their expenditures are. And I'm having faith that CETA is putting forward a responsible budget, that it's gone through your board of directors, that you've looked at what your needs are to carry out the action plan that we have, presented to us for the coming year. And so I'm not in favor of cutting your budget whatsoever. And I do think from a cash flow perspective, that 410 is going to be needed to make ends meet.
Andy, I know you're next, but Chris wanted to say something.
To Mr. Peters's question, I'm not aware of any other contract that contains that specific language. Our office doesn't monitor, receivables or payables or anything else. I don't think we do that with any of the libraries, for example. I just don't know. However, what we do receive is when there's a breach of contract, for example, somebody hasn't returned a deposit or, that we've made, or a service hasn't been performed. Usually the department head makes an effort, and then it does come to our office. We'll issue a demand letter. And if that doesn't occur, then there'll be a summons and a complaint served. We've not had any of those things yet, so I can't answer it any better than.
Chris, does that help?
What's that?
Does that help?
It does, but if I could just comment, I'd say that I'm relatively certain that other contracts contain more specific language and ability to quantify outcomes. But with regard to your statement, I understand, like libraries, and give me 2 examples.
I'm specifically talking about the maintaining the funds.
Send that, fair enough.
I don't
Send
know.
the debt, send the money back.
We may have 1 or 2, but I can't think of any right off the top of my head.
Thank you.
Andy?
Brian.
Oh, Brian?
So first, I think I personally want to thank Mike Miller for sitting through this type of scrutiny, and I'm so glad. I've only been a legislator a year, but I've never seen anybody go through this much scrutiny and almost be put on the spot and looking for a gotcha moment. We need to fund CETA for the entire county, period. This county, you talk about people leaving and the population dropping. Let's take economic responsibility out of it. Let's just allow people to come here on their own without no CETA at all. See what happens then. It might need $425,000 for CETA. I don't see why, and this is shocking because it seems like most of the Republicans are not supporting what seems to be a Republican view of supporting CETA. If you have a problem with CETA, because I've heard in the past that CETA, people have had problems with them getting to every area of the county. As legislators, you need to advocate for your space, because Mike was remove Mike, for example, but Mike wasn't there, maybe the next legislature is more aggressive than maybe he's more aggressive in the city. But I know personally that I've walked people into CETA. I've referred people to CETA. I have a relationship with CETA, and I would like to see all over 15, I know Lydia has reached out to CETA as well. But I like to see people that are not in the city, how often have they contacted CETA prior to criticizing them about how much they're in their area and bringing them out and having town hall type meetings and setting up events? Because right now, that's what Michael's trying to do. So this is what this is really about. Let's talk about that, because this is borderline abusive to me. You're asking him that on the spot some questions that he's not prepared to answer. And we wonder why we've been months and years without a director. This is wrong. And I would suggest one thing for any of us moving forward. CETA has a 3-year contract. They should not be coming up every year for this type of scrutiny. We should fund them for 3 years, and then we don't have to have this conversation, because it puts everybody in a bad spot.
Anyone else? Jim?
So to Brian's point, I think I started my conversation off with, we need to fund CETA. I believe if you go back in the record, we do need to fund them. I was just looking at the math, okay? And to Tricia's point, the running tight or quarterly, again, I looked at the 5-year history of information I had. I don't say that information was right or wrong. I just looked at the numbers, and I found $50,000 that the budget could be reduced. This budget doesn't show the 122. I know that Mike, and in fairness to Mike, he's only been here since July. We don't know. I have no clue what went on the last 5 years, with CETA and what was going on. So I'm becoming more acquainted with that organization just by being a legislator. So all I did was look at the math. I think there's means to, I think, and I looked at the budget and I checked off salaries. Boom. I didn't want to touch those. They have 2 spots to fill. I went to the website, saw the 2 spots. I looked at the salary number and it looked fair. It looked like it's something they could work with and retain good people. I looked at 2 line. I checked off, you've got my piece of paper, checked off what I thought was good. And again, they might come back, even if we pass it as is, they might still have to come back to us and because of this Micron and stuff, and do some more events and stuff. They might ask for more than 20,000. I don't know, but I will be better prepared for next year's budget. And now that I understand it, to Brian's point, I agree. Some of the questions are kind of tough because he is new, and it probably is hard to answer on the spot. But on the other hand, any director, any of one of our department heads, they need to be prepared when they come up here. This is a big thing. So
I can respond to him because he was talking to me. So
sure, go right ahead.
All right. When you received this today, right? Roughly months ago, but you started pencil.
I received it today.
So in one day, you took a pencil and chalked up where you could have saved money here and there. That's not fair. There's so much of a conversation that has to happen. If I have a business, and you could look at it and say, well, Brian, cost of goods went up here. It only went 10%. Waste for 20%. This is a whole conversation that should be had. It's unfair for you to get this morning or last night and then say, well, I found $275,000 where you guys should be at, and we should be at 275. That's not fair to Michael. That's not fair to Michael. And it's also insulting. Even though he's been here for a short period of time, he's been here enough to commit to this county, and he's been here enough to understand how his department runs, rather than have somebody within 24 hours present this type of, so I think it's unfair.
So I'd like to respond to that.
Yeah, wait, Mark wants to say something first, Jim.
Bar all the conversations that have taken place in the last few minutes, the way I understand it, listening to Andy, there is a contract with CETA through the county, and I believe it'd be correct that contract be followed. That's my only comment.
And that's the 125, 24, 22,000 coming back to the county?
If that's what the
And they're
contract
asking
states.
for 425.
If that's what the contract
We don't know.
states.
Everybody, just ask, please. Okay, Jim, go ahead.
So to that point, we don't, Mike has to have an opportunity to look to see that 120 might not be all county money. So he, you know,
But if you.
that's another point.
Money from the guy that asked for more, I don't understand what you're
Brian,
talking about.
Brian,
But
You should ask that question.
we can't talk,
Clear.
people can't talk at once. Right?
so, yes, I got it today at whatever time, but I've been doing research on it since this process started 3 months ago. And maybe it does seem a little unfair. Sometimes things aren't always fair. This was my shot, and I shared it with everybody. I wasn't like trying to hide numbers or speak from a piece of paper here. I didn't say you had to agree or disagree, just wanted to share my thoughts on it. That's all. And I appreciate your opinion.
Okay. Heidi, go ahead.
I just want to make one last comment about this budget and about the importance of the times that we're in. We have an opportunity to get at the table of Micron. There are many counties and there are many examples that have come to me personally of people who are at that table who are negotiating for very interesting things. We're not there. Cayuga County's not there. We're going to lose remarkable opportunity from a company that searched across the globe to find a place, and that place is in our backyard. If we don't provide the resources that Michael is saying Cedar needs right now to get at that table, that's on us.
Okay, I'm getting some advice from council that I think we just found out that there's a contract. I'll let Chris explain it to you better because he's the attorney.
So the contract we currently have says that CETA gets paid $350,000. I believe that's correct, and I think there's an amendment pending for $375, which we are waiting for an executed copy, maybe, for the fiscal year 2022. I don't seem to have one. But I can provide it to you, and it'll just take your signature and Dave's signature, and that will be amended to 375. However, if you go over 375, I'm hearing for something, foreign change, that's going to require another resolution authorizing the chair to sign amendment number 2, amending the contract to allow them to be paid for in whatever numbers you guys are tossing around.
So let me get it straight so everybody knows. So the most we can vote on, if we vote on it today, is 350.
No, that's the most they can be paid. You can set the budget to whatever if you decide you want to amend the contract next year for next year. You can set it to 450, 500. We'll just have to amend the contract so that we can pay them that. And if you're gonna open up amendments, that's a whole nother discussion, separate and apart from the budget discussion.
You're talking contract, you're talking the budget. Two different things.
Correct. We do have to follow the terms of the budget, the contract. It's a contract for 350.
So I have a question then. If we have a contract and the contract says 350, doesn't that contract then would have to be renegotiated if we were going to give less than?
No.
Does it say max?
No, what it does is it's subject to a non-appropriation clause, which says that the county does not pledge to full faith and credit as we would to bondholders, for example. We promise our ability to tax, they will be paid. However, if you appropriate less than the 350, that's the only obligation you have to pay. That's a term of the contract.
And you're talking about appropriating in the budget.
Yes, I am.
So last year is last year, and if you don't have a signed contract, you should have one, but
Well, we-
whatever.
We do have a signed contract.
Okay, but whatever gets passed in the 2023 budget, there's a resolution that comes forward authorizing the chair to sign a contract with CETA for whatever dollar amount ends up passing in that budget. That still is subject to a resolution.
Whatever amount passes in the resolution,
Right.
not what's in the budget. You
Okay.
can split the difference. You can do whatever you guys want. I don't know where he's gonna be, so it'll be
So the
authorizing.
budget has 400,000 for CETA. The resolution could come forward next year for 700,000. And if it passes, it passes.
Well, if you transfer money out of fund
Right,
balance and adjust the
right,
budget, sure.
Right,
Yeah,
but
you could do that.
generally, the budget that passes is kind of what has been decided for appropriation to CETA.
It's a contract that has to be amended.
Contract.
But doesn't the contract expire in 2022?
What I'm looking at goes to 23.
Because
January.
Andy's point, or somebody's point's a 3-year contract, so,
But it also goes fiscal year.
okay.
What is the fiscal year?
It looks like it's December. I can see their payments are March, June. It's every quarter, and I assume December 31st of 2022. That'll be the end of the fiscal year. For their fiscal
So
year.
specifically what you're talking about, we talked about this months ago. We passed a budget that said 375. 350 was in another budget from year prior, or 2 years prior. And it was never changed in the contract. That was your office's error.
No, we have drafted it. We just haven't received an executed copy back.
Okay, but
That's
at
my,
that time, when we spoke, you were just getting that draft together after the fact. It was way after the fact. I'm just saying, that was not something that we, I think you're trying to make it sound kind of complicated, that,
no, I'm just telling you, you're gonna have this discussion again.
well, that's okay. I mean, we do that all the
I
time.
mean, you're only talking about the budget. You're not talking about the contract here at the moment.
Right, and then we have to pass a resolution and you have to change the contract.
Correct.
And that's why you have 4 attorneys in your office.
I'm splitting. Yes.
Forget.
Normally, you only call on people twice. That's the rules and regs. But I'm making an exception because this has been festering for a long time. Jim, go ahead.
Now I'm my wheels are spinning. If we have a contract in place, this discussion is moot. If it's 375 and we're waiting for the executed contract, then
Amendment.
amendment?
Yeah, this is all about the amendment.
Yeah, but it didn't you say it's a multi-year contract to
3 years.
Right, till,
so that
So
we
if
don't
we
have to
amend this, we can amend the contract.
Yeah.
What we, oh.
What year?
Right now, 22.
The third year of the contract?
2023.
It ends in 23.
Finishing the second year.
The second year,
And it's-
sounds like the second year, Andy.
And it's written for 375 right now as amended.
350.
50 is the contract.
Amendment's been drafted. We just need an executed copy back, which I suspect I'm gonna get tomorrow.
That was for last year.
There's a clause
You're talking about.
22.
I'm looking this year, 22. It's for the 2022 payment.
Right.
It's supposed to be, the contract's to be amended
Yep.
to 375.
Right.
And we're just waiting for the signed copy to come back. I expect that'll come back probably tomorrow. In which case, I mean, you guys have authorized by resolution the amendment. So it's a done deal. Once we get the final copy back, I will forward that on to finance. They can pay 375.
Executed or not, they've been being paid, correct?
Well, the
Yes,
fourth
they have.
quarter, will be the final adjustment.
That's the adjustment.
You drop it down if there's no signature on the amendment, you're stuck with that 350. But like I said, he's authorized and directed to sign it. We just need a signed copy back, and I bet I'll get it tomorrow.
Forward.
Bobby?
Well, I just want to say that, again, Mike just came on and what did you say, July?
Yeah, I think you read it.
July, and
Fairness.
some of my town supervisors came to me and said, hey, the guy from CETA came out and talked to us today, which I appreciate, I think is a great gesture. I don't know if that's been done previous years, but the fact that Mike is getting the word out there in the county that they exist and they're here to help businesses is a tremendous shot in the arm for all of us. And as far as, I think he's making the effort, and I personally appreciate that. And I want to just let him know and let the ledge know that there are changes being made, which is a great thing, I think.
Okay, I think we've had enough discussion on that. Now we can vote on the amendment, which was from 375 to 410. Okay, who's in favor? Let's make a motion first. Motion.
Motion's already on the table.
Sorry. Yeah.
Already got it? Second?
Yeah.
All in favor of 410?
Got a roll call vote?
Should you do a
Roll call?
Jim Vasile,
No,
Andy Dennison,
No,
Lydia Patty Ruffini,
No,
Chris Petras.
no.
Answer for you.
I threw my voice.
Was it a no, Chris?
Yes, that's a no. Or- Correct.
That's okay. Aileen McNabb Coleman,
Yes.
Bob Shay,
No.
Hans Petcher,
No.
Mark Strong,
No.
Heidi Nightingale,
Yes.
Elaine Daly,
Yes.
Tricia Kerr,
Yes.
Christina Clarko,
Yes.
Michael Didio is excused. Brian Muldrow,
Yes.
David Gould.
No.
Let's see.
Defeated.
Thank you.
Okay, that was defeated. Any other amendments? No other amendments?
Mr. Chairman. I
Yep.
just want to be sure they're getting the 375 then, with all the discussion that went on. So that
The budget says 375.
budget, so that they get that, we got to support it. And if they have some issues during the year, they should come to us with some information so we can help them out from that point forward. I don't think there's anybody in this room that's against economic development and how important it is to the county. Micron thing, absolutely. He may have different expenses he's not aware of yet until he gets to the table with these people.
So no other amendments? Hans?
Chairman, I'd like to offer an amendment. I'd like to see the tax increase stay at 1% or be 1% instead of 1.5%. So I'm offering a resolution or an amendment to the budget 8-10-100-41-110 by $423,000 and $148 and increasing the sales tax distribution 8-10-154-5400 by $211,574. This would give us a 1% tax increase for the year, for the budget over last year's.
Okay. Is there a motion or a second?
Second it.
I must ask.
Open for discussion.
Can I just get some clarification? So that's going to the levy or from fund balance?
Okay, Chris, let me ask.
This is an increase.
Let me explain that. Let Lynn explain that, okay? If it's all right with you, Hans. Can Lynn explain that?
Lynn.
Then, yes, of course.
Yes, he's making a motion to increase the sales tax and reduce the property tax levy.
Oh, okay, thank you. Oh, I got it, yeah.
Elaine?
A minute, I'm caught up.
Okay, just so I'm clear. The tentative budget called for a 1.5% tax levy increase and an 8% tax rate decrease.
Is that correct?
If at 1.5%, the county would have received an additional $600,000 a year in additional revenue. Is that true?
$634,000.
Okay, so and I was in favor of at least having some additional revenue come into the county year after year, because certainly expenses are going up. But if this motion passes, there will be additional revenue coming into the county by what figure? The 1.1% versus 1.5?
It's a decrease in the tax levy by $211,000.
Okay,
And then so he's increasing the projected sales tax revenue.
okay, so the impact is $211,000 less coming in each year
In property tax.
in property tax. Instead of getting $600,000 each year, we'll be getting $211,000 less than that each year. But it still will be have, well, I mean, if, the way I understood it, Andy, is if we raise the tax levy by whatever percent, $600,000, which is 1.5, you get the $600,000 every year after that. So instead of it's being flat and it never changes, it compounds year after year, which I think the county needs to have some additional revenue to cover the additional costs that we have. This doesn't zero it out, but it just reduces the amount of revenue we're getting from the tax levy or from the property taxpayers.
Thank you.
For this year, it's 211,000 less that you're going to take by raising the sales tax,
The idea, give the taxpayers a little bit of a break.
but not zero out in getting no additional revenue for the county.
Oh.
Yep. Okay.
Can I ask?
Andy,
So Lynn, where have we, like the past 3 years, I know we've always undershot our sales tax. So will we still be undershooting, throwing this figure in? I know some years we've been way under estimate.
In the last couple of years, we've obviously been significantly over the budgeted sales tax budget. Even for this year, our budget is 25.6 million. We're probably gonna get 29 million. I believe I have about $27.5 million budgeted for 2023.
Still conservative.
We have room to move with 200,000 fairly conservatively. Oh, let's go more.
okay, further discussion, Haley.
I just, I like what you're offering today. I do remain concerned that our operating costs for this year alone have raised $11 million. We have collectively seen the need to increase our working individuals by 20 positions in this county in order to maintain operations at a level of excellent service delivery. That's what we do. So I am concerned that if we don't, move in some commensurate fashion, we will find ourselves upside down over time. So I recognize wanting to give the taxpayers a break. I recognize that we are living in very extraordinary times with the amount of sales tax that this county is taking in. I see it as short-lived. So I am concerned, to make this move, but I can welcome other people's thoughts. I am concerned about long-term. I'll say, when we talk about our fund balance and having a healthy fund balance, we need to allocate that for the future. It wasn't that long ago, we were really taking from the fund balance to turn the lights on here, keep the lights on. So, and that was during my tenure here. So really extraordinary that we're here. I'm worried moving on into the future, the sales tax may take a dip and we need to kind of reassess where we're at in county operations.
All right, thanks. I'm going to make a comment on this. It's been a terrible, hard year for all our taxpayers, for everybody, not only in this county, the state, this country. And if we can't give our taxpayers a little bit of break, and that's what it is, a little bit of break, we're not going to go broke in this county. It's our taxpayers' money that this is. And if we can't give them a break of a couple 100,000, then shame on us. That's the way I feel. Jim, go ahead.
Yeah, that little bit of a break, as small as it is and as important as it's going to be for the taxpayers and the constituents in my district, I'm sure others, is 0.001% of the entire budget. And if you're against that, I mean, we have had a difficult time cutting anything here. Anytime we talk about cutting something, you'd think we set the building on it.
Further discussion? If not, all in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Any opposed? Yes, thank you very much. Further amendments?
Amen.
I didn't say amen. I said amen.
But I'll say amen.
I wanted to say amen.
So also earlier on in this budget process, I had put up an amendment concerning the salary of the chair. In my amendment, needs to take the current salary allocation from 45,000 to 30,000. So I want to put that motion back out there.
Okay. There's a motion. Is there a second?
Nightingale said.
Second discussion.
So I just want to go over some history. So I believe that we've been at this 30,000, and anyone else can correct me because I tried to go far back as I could. Since 2005, we've had a sort of standard salary of 30,000 for the chair, and then legislators were making 10,000. The legislative salaries have been going up, fractionally, just to keep with the times, and we all agreed to that at the time, or most of us did. And the chair salary has remained. This chair was increased, I think, in 2006, 67,000 for 1 year, and went back to 30. The conversation that took place last year at budget time was knowing that we were going to onboard an operations officer. The first 6 months, we would continue with a $60,000 salary, and then go back down to 30,000 for the end of the year, the remaining 6 months. It was told to us by our attorney that we could not reduce the salary of an elected official for an appointed term during the course of that term. So we split the difference and went with 45. The understanding at the time, the legislative body that was here, was to go back to 30 for that last 6 months and then stay at 30. So when this budget was released, I was interested to see if we had done that. And so what was published with this tentative budget was the salary remaining at 45,000. So I just wanted to bring this to your attention because historically, and it was, we've had, as I said before, a lot of new faces on here that don't have the historical knowledge, but the idea and the intention of the body last year was to go back to 30 for this year after 2022 had concluded. If this body I'm trying to get at the intentionality here. If this body would like to be intentional and say that the chair deserves a $45,000 salary, it just warrants a discussion. I think passing it through quietly in a budget where there is no itemization about what it is that the chair makes is wrong for the public. It's very wrong to do that. So I'm calling that out to say, do you agree that we should continue for the reasons that were stated today in the article? And what we know is that it's still taking an awful lot of time to be the chair and to do an effective job as chair, even with the addition of operations officer. So if you feel that that is satisfactory, please talk about it. If you feel that even with a $45,000 salary and the addition of the operations officer, it is simply not enough to cover the operations of this county, we need to talk about that. We need to talk about what we need to execute service delivery and all the things that we offer in this county in terms of leadership, leading the county through this. So do we need, not only going to be more salary for the chair, but do we need other people? Do we need more staff? So I would like to just let everyone know that this is what's driving my questioning, and it's not reflective of Dave Gould, and Dave and I have had this conversation one-on-one as well. I'm just calling your attention to it to get some intentionality behind it.
Chris, then Andy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think if I'm understanding you correctly, I think I agree with what you just said, not the motion that you made, but basically everything you said. And I just want to, I don't think I'm telling anybody anything that they're not really sick of hearing from me. But I think that 65,000 was not enough. If we were to hire a professional, this is over 500 employees, close to $170 million budget. And just for the record, envisioning, it may have been the intention of the body, but I always envisioned it, is probably delusions of grandeur, but I always envisioned it, the operations manager becoming the deputy county executive through the implementation of a charter. So, thank you.
You're welcome. And
So I just have one question then. So if you want to move it back to 2005 levels, but we've all moved up since then, why wouldn't the chair deserve to move up also?
As long as there's intention. This is precisely the discussion I want to be having about this. That's my point.
I think it's the intention. I mean, hell, I didn't even know we were at whatever it was that they showed a month ago. I didn't realize we were over 14 now.
Because you voted against it.
Yeah. So that's my point. I mean, I remember asking Sheila my first week here, what exactly do we get paid anyhow? Because that's not why I ran, because I didn't have a clue. So we've gone up, like I said, well, from what was it? What did we start? 10.5. So we're at 14 something now. Committee chairs get extra. I'm trying to wrap my head around moving the chair back to say 18 years ago numbers when everybody else has gone back up. I mean, I agree, it shouldn't be 60 or whatever, that it was, but I think if you put it back down in that 45 range, that probably fits with a percentage of where, I mean, I don't know, I haven't done the math right in front of me, but whatever percentage the rest of everybody's gone up in the past 7 years. You and I were the only one two in here that I think.
Heidi.
I agree about the importance of this conversation and that the amendment had to come forward to have this conversation. We had not had the conversation at all during any of our budget meeting. $45,000 is a 33% increase. $15,000. And yet we've had hours of discussion about $35,000 for CETA. This is a 33% increase. Not that I'm not in support of it, but we have to have the discussion. This is a public hearing. Hopefully public are listening. When you do go to our YouTube channel, there are a lot of hits. People do listen to it afterward. They need to know what kind of decisions we're making about a chair's salary and that it is a 33% increase from our decisions of December 2021.
Elaine first.
I'm not going to say it's a decrease.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I guess even thinking about moving the salary from 45 to 30, I would not have supported that. I think it would send the message in my mind that, what we have in terms of leadership and operational structure is just good enough to run a $171 million county budget. A chairman making $45,000, which is very little for the time that's being spent in this office, a chair that could change every year, an operations manager we put on with less than a year's of experience, who was basically doing a wonderful job, but was there to work under the supervision and direction of a chair without any independent authority, with no one reporting to them. I think the bigger conversation is the operations manager, in my mind, was a compromise because there would be no majority support for a professional county administrator or a county manager. A charter was going to be years away if we even started the process, which we really haven't. So I'm certainly not in favor of reducing the chairman's salary.
Yep.
But this is what we have, and the fact that there would be potentially no continuity year after year, except the operations officer. I think the bigger discussion is what are we going to do long-term with overall leadership in this county?
Agreed. Jim?
So to Elaine's point, I think that's a more important discussion, not that the price, but 19 years ago, the salary was 30,000. Is that what I heard? 19 years ago. So if we amortize that over 19 years, it might be 60 or 70,000. It might have doubled. So 45 is a bargain.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If you would indulge me, I have 2 points.
Sure.
Very, very quickly.
Speak plain English.
I'm going to get in trouble. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Palermo. Ralph Stanbrook, no, you didn't serve with him. He was before you, right? And when he was the full-time chair, 60, correct? In 92-ish. And so having said that, I also want to go further and dig the hole even further to expound on Aileen's point. A conversation needs to be had around the office of the executive, and money will need to be spent there. Support staff, clerical staff to manage the day-to-day operations. So yeah, I'm down with spending more money.
Andy?
I'm not, but anyway.
I knew that was coming.
So it's actually a 33% decrease from 60 to 45. And I just did some math on my phone. You and I, since we've been here the longest of the group, have gone up 35% since we got here 7 years ago. So just saying.
Okay, thank you.
So real quick, from 2005, if the position's got a 1.5% raise over 5 years, the chair's position would be 36. It just keeps compounding. So 45 is a reasonable amount, and we can talk about whether that should go up after that or get into whatever we're doing with the legislators. It's a certain percent raise every year or whatever. You almost got to get into that.
Really?
So that's my point. And to Andy's point, we've just never discussed it. We never took a vote on it. We don't have a resolution to back it. That's all I'm presenting today is, without that, we shouldn't be, I was part of the conversation and you were too, Andy. You go back to the minutes and you were also about going back to 30 for that last 6 months and then going back to 30. Both quoted as saying that. So it's something that I've known for 7 years I've been here, we've always been at 30. So this is just a discussion to be had and to have approval. So this is my amendment is to today do that. I'm hoping that, my intention is make this amendment, vote up or down if you like, but moving forward, we need to have a very clear conversation. We've also had plenty of wasted time. We have not developed a charter. We don't know where we're going. We have the health movement operations officer. I agree. I always foresaw that as becoming a deputy executive, but we don't have any plans right now. So.
Okay, now I'm just gonna make a comment. I think that's been brought up for discussion. I think it needed to be, and I'm glad it did. I just, I'm the same as all of you. We're dedicated to this job or we wouldn't be doing it. The stuff we have to go through from the public and everybody else, we don't get paid nearly enough. I would do this job for $1 a year because I love doing it. And so would you. That's why you're still here. That's why you're running. We want to give back to our county. So the salary to me does not mean anything. It probably will for the next year, but it doesn't to me. So whatever you decide, I will be here next year. Andy?
I got a quick question for Chris, I guess, because does as you've reminded me, the 1% thing, which is why I don't know what the hell I get paid. Does the chair fall under that too, or?
He does not.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, lawyer Sheila.
So, and doing the math, over a 10-year period, it comes out to $46,539. We're 19 years. So 45 is a reasonable number. So I'm ready to vote. Call the question.
Okay, just call. Let's vote on call the question. Everybody in favor?
I'll second this call the question.
All right,
Thank you.
everybody in favor, call the question.
Aye.
Now let's vote on the amendment. The amendment was from 45 back to 30.
Yep.
Okay, there was a second discussion. All in favor of Aileen's amendment?
Aye.
3 people, you got that?
I did better do a roll.
Yeah, you better.
Say that,
Roll call?
can you repeat?
We're voting.
Did you say 30? or-
We're voting
Bring
to
it down to
increase
30.
it.
Bring it down.
5 to 30.
Bring it down.
45 now, right? The amendment was to bring it down to 30.
We're voting whether to.
Okay, let's have a roll call.
Go with it.
Jim Vasile,
No.
Andy Dennison,
This is to say yes for her amendment or no for her amendment?
No to her amendment.
No, I just want to make sure.
I was asking.
Lydia Patty Rafini,
You confused.
No.
Chris Petras,
Negative.
Aileen McNabb Coleman,
Positive.
Nice.
Bob Shay,
No.
Hans Petcher,
No.
Mark Strong,
No.
Heidi Nightingale,
Yes.
Elaine Daly,
No.
Patricia Kerr,
Yes.
Christina Clarko,
No.
Michael Didio is excused, Brian Muldrow,
No.
David Gould.
Should I vote, Chris, or no?
They haven't appointed you chair for next year, so
Yes.
I believe you should.
Now's the time.
No.
Actually, I'd like to,
Okay, thank you. That amendment.
are we past that? Can I make one point?
Yes, just one thing. I'm going to close the public hearing. The public hearing is closed at 7:25 exactly. Okay, go ahead, Chris.
So thank you. And I'll be quick. Again, that brought to my attention when you said you're not chair for next year. I feel like we should think about the office, not the person. And so I'll shut up.
Thanks.
That's what you were waiting for.
I'd like to make an amendment to lower all of our salaries back to where it was when I started. Just-
Okay, any more amendments to the budget, tentative budget? All the department heads are sitting here waiting for this patiently. Do I hear any, no more? I'm sorry, Heidi, go ahead.
Chair, I don't have an amendment, but I have a comment about the budget. I have had several conversations, people calling me about the increase in this budget to by about $10 to $11 million, with this assumption that the increase came from the health department. I've had to correct them, and I think again for the public hearing, I'm sorry you've closed it before my comments. The health department actually got $200,000 less than their request. So I just want the public to know that this $10 or $11 million assumption that it's coming from our health department is completely false. And our public should be looking more closely at our budget decisions.
I don't know you were going to say that, I wouldn't have closed it, but. Okay, any other comments? I've talked to the attorneys. Next Tuesday, we will be voting on the budget. Resolution will be handed out to you probably tomorrow. Everybody to look over and certainly the public. So next Tuesday, I wanted to do it today, but Chris said and Fred said, and I agree with them, that the public should have time to look at the resolution. So.
Did Lydia?
Lydia voted.
No, I'm thinking that you want to comment.
Oh, did you want to talk, Lydia? I'm sorry.
Not at this time, but thank you for that opportunity.
Okay, all right.
If we're gonna wrap it up, I'd just like to say one thing real quick, if I could.
Absolutely.
I said that about 4 times. I just wanted to say that I'm in support. CETA took a lot of heat. I'm in support of the 375,000 for CETA. I just want to say that my district is not one of the districts that is, proclaiming an absence of CETA. There's testimony from my town supervisor, businesses both within the existing legislative district and the not proposed anymore, tentative legislative districts. So, yeah, I just wanted to clarify that because I was a little concerned about the revelations tonight. So I just wanted to clarify, that they've been a big impact in my community. I look forward to working with you in the future and exploring more of your contract and particulars of it. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
So in reference to Mike, thank you for, what he's done. My district, I'm hoping he'll come up and do a presentation or what he's doing when he gets time to do that. They're, and this isn't Mike's fault, it's just the organization for the last few years and C-word, COVID and everything else. Really don't know much about it. So I'm hoping he'll get time to, down in his schedule in the future here to come up and try to set up something with the chamber and the businesses or something.
Thanks, Jim. I'm just going to make a few comments about CETA too. I've known Mike's family and Mike for a long time. He does live in Aurora, side of Aurora. He's got a great family. Mike is brand new. We all know that. 3 or 4 months. We have to, the way I feel, give Mike a chance. CETA's done a lot, and maybe people do not feel that they've, gained from their districts, but CETA's done a lot. And I think just Mike being the head of CETA now, with a young, aggressive, intelligent young man, I think it'll do a lot more. And I'm sure of that. I did not want this CETA discussion to be political. I don't think it should be. It should not be right, left, conservative, liberal. It shouldn't be. It should be all about the growth. And I think that with Mike's leadership, I think it'll grow very quickly. Certainly helping us on the Micron deal, where we're working together in a bit with a large committee. In fact, I think 4 people are going to Syracuse very soon to meet with Central New York Planning. So that is very helpful. But again, I didn't want this to be political. I'm glad to political. We got a lot of comments out that needed to be out. And I think everybody understands now. At least I do. I've always understood. I just want you to know why I didn't vote for 410. We need to be fiscally responsible here too. But I know that you need the 375, and that's why I support. Okay, that's my comment. I don't know who was first.
One more, seems we're on this
I
again.
just
you go
want to
ahead.
congratulate the
Heidi.
body, all of us, on a lot of hard discussions, collaborative work. We've got a budget.
That's right.
Any,
I'm still gonna, since we're back on this discussion, say that I would like to see the city of Auburn tribute. And Brian, I don't know, what, last month's meeting or whatever, I know you were guessing, so I'm not holding you to that when you said you thought Auburn probably paid 80% of the taxes. Well, according to real property,
21.
a little less than 21%. And they got basically a third or so of the population. So when you see the numbers, when you see the $500,000 thing that Brian brought forward that I totally supported, with 86% being in the city so far. I mean, I'm gonna harp on it next year, that it wouldn't hurt for the city to throw 150,000 into their budget towards CETA. Because we have CETA, we have our planning department, we have the Cayuga County Development Agency, we have the Auburn Industrial Development Agency. Hell, we ought to be the most developed county in
Prosperous.
New York State right now with all the development agencies we've got. But there's still people north of the Thruway and south that CETA, we're there, so.
thanks. Right.
I did misspeak.
I'm sorry.
I did misspeak when I said 80. I was,
Oh, I know you're
I was a little frustrated, but I will tell you this is that it doesn't matter if $1 spent in Auburn or there's more tax out there. As a county, these dollars are collected. We don't come into social services and tell people they can't use social services because you didn't contribute to social service. We don't tell people they can't use a sheriff in Auburn if we need a thing. But I will tell you that when Auburn does have something, they do contract directly with Mike, and that is another. If they contract them, they contract directly with them as well. So there is extra funds that come in for works that are outside county work that are directly for the city. So the city has an initiative, something that's going on, and it's just for the city of Auburn. They will pay a stepper fee to Mike to run that program. So, I really should not have went down that rabbit hole, how much Auburn pays compared. We are all Cayuga County residents and we all pay taxes. And if the 80% of any grant or any type of initiative is going to one direction, as a county legislator, represent your district. I mean, if that happened, did you reach out to, I know Lydia had a couple of town hall meetings, but maybe call Mike out, maybe call some of the business there, get involved, but don't put all the work on Mike and say, you know what, this, like I'm talking about CETA, and then cut their budget. And say, well, you're not out here in all 15 districts, but boy, say, how you expect them to be in all 15 districts? So if we're gonna cut their budget, what I'm suggesting is, how many times has anybody had a relationship with CETA to work with them? Because if you didn't do that, and you're saying they're not in your district, you didn't represent your constituents well.
All right, thanks, everybody. I shouldn't have brought that up again.
Motion to adjourn.
Wait a minute, Andy, I got one more thing, everybody, one more thing. I just want Lynn to explain to the public, because people have asked me, and some of you, because you've come to me, what does the 1% mean to the taxpayers of this county? Lynn? And I know she knew the question was coming, because I told her I was going to ask her.
Well, hold on a second here, actually.
Time's up.
Good question, though.
More than 8.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you the exact amount. Give me one second.
Well, she's figuring that out. Don't forget, our meeting is next Tuesday. It's early because of the holidays naturally, so don't forget our full meeting is next Tuesday at 6 o'clock. We'll be voting on the budget.
Don't worry, teachers will text me. Do we have a meeting? Do. Good schedule now.
While we're waiting, anybody got anything else to say about anything?
Chairman, I think you should just.
What about our department heads? Thank you all for coming. You all worried about your budget last night a little bit? I used to. And now you don't have to worry. You can go home and have a glass of wine and relax.
You got it, Lynn?
Yeah, so with a 1% property tax levy increase, it'll be a 7.09% tax rate per thousand. So that's actually a decrease of 8.55%.
Is that dollar wise?
Yeah, so dollar wise, it's the rate is 7.09. So, it depends on the assessed value of your house, but the rate per thousand is decreasing by 8.55%.
So 60.
What was it before?
775.
8.
I thought it was 775.
So it dropped around 75.
It was 8.1, it was negative 8.1, now it's negative 8.55.
Thank you very much, Lynn.
Tax rate.
6 cents.
I just wanted to paraphrase for people like me.
Everybody, please. Go ahead, Chris.
I just want to paraphrase. I think it's safe to say that the taxpayers will see a net reduction in the amount that they pay.
Depending on whether their assessment went up.
Thank you.
Yeah, it depends on the assessment, but most will see, according to what Lynn has told me, most will see it.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourn. Thank you, everyone.